93, 93, 93. All right. What's going on, Jared? 93. What's going on? The nameless one. Salute, salute. 93, Cali. Much love and respect as always. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, mine too? 93. What's going on, King OXJ? You already know what the fuck it is, yo. You know what I mean? Asha Renew. We back in this bitch. The title of this particular video is The Human Psyche is Wicked. So you have to be evil in the right way. So we'll get into some of that. We'll see what's going on. What's up, Angela? Greetings, greetings. So I don't know how long it's been. I don't know how long it's been. A month, maybe two, I don't know. But we back. It took me 2 hours to get set up. So I was supposed to be live at like 11. It took me 2 hours to get this shit right. So I'm just really putting real time behind what I'm doing now. As you see, we high definition, everything is smooth, high quality audio, video. Hopefully the aesthetics is not too crazy. You know what I mean? Hopefully this is not bothering anybody. You know, got the imagery. So we working, we working. Everything is on point. We got diffusers. Probably can't see it. Diffusers, humidifiers. We got incense going. We got demons, devils, angels, gods. You already know. So before we get started, of course, let's bring in the proper energy. And since we're talking about the wickedness that is within us all, there is no exception. The only thing we can really do is to accept evil. Most of the time when we think about evil, we think about, it from a religious perspective. A destructive force, a chaotic force with no order. But for those who are students of the Citra Aqua, for those who are students of the clip off, for those who are students into any dark path, any gray path, any left hand path, satanic, Luciferian, so on and so forth, we are introduced to evil in the truest sense, which is essentially without the clip off or without the tree of death, there will be no tree of life. How does that make sense? Without the tree of death, without the clip off, there would be no Kabbalah, there would be no tree of life. According to the scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures, so on and so forth, God's first creation was a mistake. What do I mean by the first creation was a mistake? This is how the clip off was created. God made a mistake on the first try and got it right on the second try. So the clip off powers the Kabbalah. The bad powers the good. So it doesn't matter how good you project yourself to be, evil always dwells within you, because the nature of humans is wicked, as we see. We don't really need to prove that, right? We see the wickedness of human nature on a daily basis, all over the planet, all over the world. So you see, we are essentially all the same. We do some fucked up shit to other people to gain for ourselves. In order for me to be rich, I have to make someone poor. This is the rules and regulations and the laws of this world. We are not in heaven, we're kinda in hell. So that's why it's easier to connect with demons or even to interact with demons than angels. You can say dealing with angels is pretty rare unless you have personally tapped into that current. You don't have to tap into demons to deal with them. They are all around us. Why? Because the human nature is hardwired to survive. So even if your brain has to give you a false illusion, it will do so in order for you to survive. This is what we call ego tripping or egomania. That's why it is essential that we have ego death, because we can be blinded based on survival, meaning we have to deal with people that are unrighteous on a daily basis. So if we know anything about the 85%, which is majority of the people around here, they are not working on any type of internal conflicts and resolutions and being able to resurrect as the winged serpent. They rather stay snakes. This is a year of the snake. So I'm pretty sure we're almost at the middle of the year. I'm pretty sure you have been experiencing and witnessing some snake ass shit. It's undeniable. We don't have to try, we don't have to look for it. It can literally appear right before us just in our daily interactions with others through their motivations, words, energies, presence, aura. It doesn't matter. So the only thing you can really do, you can try to be like Christ, but Christ wasn't what we think he was or what we think she was, because Christ is just a title. We all have the ability to tap into Christ's consciousness, but it is not what we think it is. It's not like an angelic current. It's not anything you can say righteous, because if the Christ was going against all of the religions at the time, pretty much anything that predates Christianity, it is a war against anything that predates that. This is why when we look at the Gnostic text, we don't have to open up the Bible at all. Let's go into the Gnostic Bible, right? Let's go into the Gnostic text. Let's go into the Gnostic Christ, which would not be accepted by the mainstream Christians. That's why I never made it to their desk, right? Gnostics are considered early Christians, or you can say the first Christians. The first Christians had a fuck the world attitude. Basically, just think about Tupac. Because everybody knows who that is, right? Tupac reflected the energy of El Cristo Negro, right? The Black Christ. Still to this day, right? So we have a living example of this energy, right? So when Tupac said, fuck the world, that is the equivalent to the Gnostics saying, fuck the demiurge. It's all about the monad, which is the real God, not the false God. The false God is called the demiurge. So if we study the life of Pac, this is the life of a Gnostic, which is a reminder to us all that, okay, regardless of what may be in front of us, who may be pretending to be righteous, who may be pretending to be good, they're really evil, but so are you. But you use your evilness for a righteous cause. That's the only difference. You choose to use your evil for righteousness. So if you gotta destroy some shit in a righteous cause, then you gonna go ahead and destroy the shit. You're not gonna keep being in the midst of unregulated chaos. Because in the midst or the center of every chaotic element, there is peace. What do I mean by that? For anybody who have seen or read Dante's Inferno, Dante was only able to find heaven in the depths of hell. He had to travel through the 9 levels of the Inferno and finally get to the bottom and then have that face to face with Satan before he was able to be released or liberated. Before he was able to liberate his soul, he had to travel to the depths of hell. Why? Because he had to face his own sins. For anybody who has seen, it's an animation, so no, it's not an actual movie. It's more of a cartoon animation, which you can essentially see on YouTube, right? I think it may be what $2 to rent it, so it's anybody has access to it. Dante, his ego had to die because his ego was painting illusions to him. His ego made him think, I'm a Christian. All these other motherfuckers is pagans. They don't even deserve to live. So as you see the movie, he begins to do some very demonic, wicked, evil acts in the name of Christianity, thinking that he was right. He even went to his lower nature. He was married. He ended up cheating on his wife. She found out, but after she was dead. If you watch the movie, it was because he cheated that his wife got killed in the first place, because the demons were not regulated. So essentially, the husband of the wife, because he basically cheated on his wife with another man's wife. It seems crazy, but this shit happens every day, right? So it shouldn't really be out of anybody's element. We see these acts on a daily basis. So as you watch the movie, he had to face his sins. His ego had blown up to unlimited proportions that essentially in the name of Christ, he thought he can get away with anything. We've seen the same thing in the history of America, right? They use that cross. They use that Bible against people, right? To enslave people. There could be no slavery without Christianity. The misuse of it. So I'm not just going to say the religion is trash. But you can use it in an unrighteous way, just like you can use it in a righteous way. Some people have really been liberated if they do it correctly. But most of the time, this is not happening. Most of the time, we're dealing with people that are on survival mode who wants to benefit off of your essence. That's the essential nature of the matrix. We can only benefit, aka the powers that be, we can only benefit if you lose. You have to lose in order for us to win. There is no just we all win. We all can't win. Somebody must lose. This is the way the world works. In order for you to win, somebody must lose. You have to take advantage of someone else's hardships. You have to think like a warrior. You have to think like a militant. You have to be on military time. Because it'll be done to you if you don't do it. So you can think you're the most righteous, you're the most blessed, natured person. Watch somebody fuck you over. Using that angelic vibes that you may reflect against you. And then you begin to see. It's not about what you project. Do you understand your own nature? Because if you understand your nature, you can understand everybody else's nature. If you understand your demons and your devils, you can understand the demons and devils of everyone else. That's why there's a study called demonology. We study demons to be able to recognize them in human form. That's why we do that, right? So while everybody else saying we don't want nothing to do with it, we study so that we can know what we are facing when we encounter it. It's just as simple as that. So if you are familiar with these demons, these devils, arc devils, clip-offic energies, energies of the Citra Aqua, which is mainly Lilith. Lilith is probably the most popular energy from that current. So if you know anything about Lilith, the first wife of Adam who refused to bow to him, and she became the queen of the jinn and created her own reality, basically Universe B. She did not accept Universe A, so she went and established Universe B. You can say that was evil. God would consider that evil. Humans would consider that evil. Because in the Bible, you're supposed to submit to your husband. You're supposed to, basically from the perspective of the woman, right? From the perspective of the woman, Eve was in the wrong because what? She listened to the serpent. She gave Adam the apple, the forbidden fruit, right? God said, don't fuck with that fruit. Eve did it anyway because she was seduced by the serpent. That's how the official story goes. The official story does not mention Lilith. You have to go to the original Hebrew text to get a perspective of Lilith. That part is not mentioned. There's a reason why they removed that part, because that gives you the reality. Just like I said, there had to be a mistake before the real matrix was created. So you can say Lilith was the mistake. Before Eve came, Lilith exists, but Lilith would be considered the mistake. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. It wasn't supposed to go that way. She wasn't supposed to be rebelling, because Lilith was not created from the rib of Adam. She was created from the same substance that Adam was created. So she didn't feel the need to bow to him, regardless of what the demiurge said, because the creation story in the Bible is really the demiurge. It's not the monad, so that we can really understand what's going on here. Also, the Bible teaches you to have a fear of snakes and serpents, because in the very first chapter, Genesis, or the first book, not the first chapter, you're introduced to, okay, well, serpents or snakes are evil. This is what they do. But we see in all of the religions that came before Christianity, serpents and snakes were exalted. The art and science of transformation was what we called alchemy. And the most essential part of alchemy is change, and creating change in a way that it otherwise would not have happened. This is what magic is. You're creating change that otherwise would not occur. You're making things happen that otherwise would not happen without your influence, right? I move around wicked people all day, but nobody bothers me. Why do you think that is? Because it's not really about bothering people. It's more about them. It's not really about, okay, a demon or a devil or anybody wicked. They're going around bothering people. They know who to fuck with. They know who not to fuck with. So in your particular example, you may be the example of a person that they can't fuck with, because you know better. So why would they bother you if you know exactly what you're dealing with? So they would prefer to deal with somebody who is unconscious, not somebody who is conscious. That's just as simple as that. You're conscious. You know better. You already know what it is when you see it. But everybody else, they have no idea what they're looking at. So it's an easier target to deal with somebody unconscious versus trying to go to war, because dealing with you, they would pretty much just have to go to war. They ain't trying to do that. They would prefer to create an illusion of peace in order to survive, instead of having to go to war with all these people that know better. So the last person they're trying to bother is you. And anybody who's conscious, anybody who has essentially dealt with their own darkness. Your darkness is not, a mystery to you. Your darkness is not a mystery. So they can't really benefit from you. But those who try to conceal their darkness, those who try to be angelic and not accept the demonic form, those are the ones who can be taken advantage of. And they take advantage of people utilizing their own devils, demons, vices, and wickedness that they choose to ignore. Right? Doesn't the Bible, Torah, and Quran all come from the same one God? Yes, you can say that all of those gods are the demiurge. Yes. So the God of the Bible, the God of the Torah, the God of the Quran, you can say it's the demiurge. It is not the monad, even though it pretends to be the monad. But the monad does not need you to worship it in order for it to survive. So when you read these religious texts and the God says, I'm a jealous God and I need you to pray to me, that's because it needs to survive. That's how the demiurge survive. I need you. The demiurge needs you. Without your participation, it weakens the demiurge. But with the real God, Don't really give a fuck, like worship me or not. The real God don't even care about human affairs. That's what people don't want to really deal with. The real God don't give a fuck about you, really. This is not the loving God or the war God that we have been taught from the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. Oh, I'm about to fuck you up on the day of resurrection and you got to pay for your sins. The real God ain't tracking that shit. The real God don't care about your goddamn sins because we're all sinners anyway. So you don't get punished for your sins because you punish yourself. You are your own God, just like you are your own devil. So the only person being punished is you. You have to deal with your own karma. You have to deal with your own consequences. That has nothing to do with the real God, because the system, as you see, is already set up. The universal laws are already set up. So things will play out as they're supposed to play out. So when it comes to these newer gods, this demiurge, it needs your participation. That's why it has to put fear in you. Most people are ruled by fear. It's a tactic of war. If all they ever spoke about was love, and they didn't talk about hell, they didn't talk about the day of resurrection, they didn't talk about, okay, based on what you do in these 100 or less than 100 years, this will determine your absolute fate. If they didn't talk in those terms, which was not being talked about before Christianity. Before Christianity, there was no eternal hell where you're just going to be there for the remainder of the existence of your soul, which is infinite. Before that, did you go through a hell? Did you go through those 9 levels of the Inferno? Yes, but just like Dante's Inferno, eventually you would be liberated. This is not your permanent residence. Hell is not a permanent residence. That did not come until the advent of Christianity, which is the worship of the false god. Because like I said, they want to give you an image of Jesus, but they don't acknowledge El Cristo Negro, which is the Christ of the underworld, the Lord of the underworld. So if the Christ is the Lord of the underworld first and foremost, that really doesn't fit into the box of religion. How can your God, your Savior, be the Lord of the underworld? How does that really make sense? Instead, he would have to be the Lord of the heavens, the hells, or the Son of God, as they call him, right? The Son of God, which is like a heavenly, loving spirit that sometimes goes to war and destroys shit, their own creation. But if you look at it, it don't have shit to do with God. It has everything to do with the clip off. Whenever wicked shit happens and bad shit happens, that's the clip off. That's the Citra Aqua. That's the dark side of the human psyche. That don't have nothing to do with the monad. Meaning, the demiurge wants you to be self-destructive and destroy yourself. Because if you don't destroy yourself, you're going to destroy others. That's how the demiurge works. I need to take life in order to live. Kill to survive. That's the mentality. Kill to survive. As we see, these same mentalities are reflected in the streets and gangs and all type of things. This is the same laws that they follow, the laws of the demiurge. And because they follow these laws, they are rewarded with the jewels and the gems of this world. Again, which is inherently evil and wicked because of the foundation, the clip-offic foundations. So it can never be all good. It can only appear to be good. Goodness is only an illusion. It's not reality. That's why love doesn't exist except the love that you bring into the world. This world is not naturally loving. This world will kill your ass and don't care about it. It's just that simple. A person can take your life, or nature can take your goddamn life and lose no sleep. And it ain't because somebody is wrong or nature is wrong. No, nature is just clip-offic and Kabbalistic. It's both, just like we are both. That's why we have an ego as well as a shadow. Your ego, again, is supposed to lie to you. That is the nature of the ego. They may say, why is the nature of the ego to lie? To make you believe that you are more or you are greater, to inflate your sense of self. Why do you need to inflate your sense of self? Because it gives you an excuse to conquer others. And that's why we have this conqueror mentality. We have to conquer others. I have to kill in order for me to be who I am, right? And there is truth to that. If, you know, we have to kill animals, we have to kill plants, we have to take from the earth in order to survive, right? So there is truth to that because we are in the flesh. That's why I say we're not in heaven, but we kind of in hell because these things are kind of true if you peel back the layers of illusion. If you don't look at the world through pearly eyes, or that God is saving people in your faith, none of that shit matters. That's why we learn metaphysics. That's why we study science. That's why we study self first and foremost. And we see the wickedness not only in ourselves, but others. It starts with you, though. It always starts with you. So, what I'm going to do right now, this is just a quick introduction. Let me, because of course, we got the vapes, and then I'm going to grab the alcohol. So, I'll be right back. Let me grab this alcohol and let's bring in the spirit, right? So it's a little introduction. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Let me see. All right. Let's check that out. If you haven't seen it, you already know. All right. So we got the tequila. All right. We got the blanco. All right. No English on this. All right. See the Spanish. All right. There's no English. You can't get this in the States. All right. You can't get this nowhere in America. So that's the type of time we on. So let me take a shot. All right. Got a whole gallon of water right here. Yeah, we're drinking straight from the bottles. All right. And lastly, let's inhale the THC. And I'm doing all this on an empty stomach, so I don't advise you to do it. Normally, you should drink alcohol with something on your stomach, but unless you're doing something spiritual, most spiritual activities should be done on an empty stomach. All right. So there we go. All right. All right. So I have some quotes here. I've been writing down some quotes. I have some quotes just to give y'all a better idea of what I'm talking about. Yeah, I definitely designed the shirt for sure. Definitely, you definitely cannot buy this in stores. Definitely, it's my designs for sure. So let me pull up these quotes to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about here. So I've been thinking about this. So this is not really normally what I do. Normally I just go with the flow. Normally I don't really premeditate. But I'm being professional now. So I have some quotes that I've gathered. I sat and I thought and I put them in a certain style to bring you this. So let me do this. Okay, one of the quotes: Men are ruled by self interest, cloaking their greed in the garb of virtue. What that means is all these people that come before us with all this energy, with all this goodness, with all this virtue, you know, these saviors, I have the answer type people, I know what you're missing type people, who appear bigger and better than the norm. This is an attribute of greed because if you peel back the layers, the reason why a person would want to appear before you as a virtuous man or a virtuous woman is because their demon is greed, right? Let's keep going. The heart of a man harbors envy, which smiles in public but sharpens its dagger in secret. So all these smiling faces, all these people, as we know, that are fake, who really don't give a fuck about us but smile and appear to care and appear to have concern. In secret, they are envious. They don't show you that, they don't put that in your face. But what makes a person want to be fake in the first place is due to envy, because if you didn't have envy, you would just be yourself. You would be trying to create a false illusion, a false persona if you wasn't envious, but this is a result of envy. So you see where I'm going, where the darker forces shape what we actually perceive in others. So if you understand the darkness, then you can understand the manifestations of the darkness which appear or have the illusionary right of goodness, right? Let's see. Beneath every act of kindness lies a calculation, for no man gives without expecting gain. That means no matter what a person does, they are expecting a return. It doesn't matter how small it is, it doesn't matter how grand it is. Nobody is just giving out energy for free without expecting something. It may even be a favor, something as small as a favor. Well, I've been doing this, I've been doing this, I've been doing this. Now I need a favor. Something as small as a favor or something as big as they want your soul, right? I'm gonna give you this money in exchange. I want your soul. The selling of the soul, right? This, as we know, that just means we don't look at flattery. We don't look at kindness as something good, something virtuous, something that is, oh, that's a good quality to have within a person. We're not looking at it like that. We don't give a fuck about none of that. What is the calculation? What is the motivation? Because nobody is just doing that shit without expecting a return, right? Let's continue. The mind of man. And again, when I say man, we're just talking about mankind. So that's man and woman. So we're not just speaking about one gender, mankind. So just to clarify that, the mind of a man, or the mind of man, is a labyrinth of deceit, where truth is but a mask for ambition. We see this all over YouTube, right? Everybody is just some type of truth seeker. They're coming on here telling you the truth. I need to tell you the truth. You've been lied to. I need to reveal this to you. I need to reveal that to you. So they use truth to shield their ambition. Because meaning they don't do it just for the sake of doing it. They're doing it from an ambitious perspective. They want the followers, they want the subscribers, they want the status, whatever it is that they're seeking, they're just going to seek it through telling the so-called truth. So while you're looking at this person as a truth seeker or a truth sayer, you're not realizing that it's for their own inner motivations, right? So if you've been around YouTube, and I'm sure you have, we have seen these people or these types of people come and go. So you see everything I'm saying, we don't really have to look too far to see this to be true, right? We don't have to know the occult. We don't have to know the astrology, the Kabbalah. We don't have to even go that deep into it. We see these things all the time, everywhere, no matter what. Let's continue. Men praise loyalty in others while plotting betrayal in their own hearts. So a person that really wants like followers, subscribers, people to really, to capture the minds and the hearts of the people. It's not what it appears to be on no level. I'll read it again. Men praise loyalty. So even with women, oh, I want a loyal woman. I want a loyal partner. I want a loyal business partner. You always hear dudes talking about loyalty as something that they value, when in secret they are plotting betrayal. Because it doesn't matter how loyal you are to someone, that will not stop them from betraying you if it suits their own self-interest. Betrayal is a result of self-interest. So if you have to be the victim in order for them to advance their self-interest, so, and it is what it is, right? This is how people move. It is what it is. All right. Continuing on. The darkest impulse of man is not cruelty, but the delight in wielding it over the weak. What do I mean? It's not ever about a person being cruel, like on a one-on-one basis. is once a person is in power and they have the ability to be cruel to a whole group of people, that is the darkest desire. Meaning, I can determine whether this group of people has resources or not, and I can regulate who gets a certain fraction or perspective of what we call wealth. That's why we have hoods. And then you have affluent neighborhoods. You got hoods all the way to affluent neighborhoods in every major city, right? We can see this no matter how we paint it. Resources are being given to others and kept away from those they want to keep it away from. It is regulated. This is not because, well, some people are this way, some people are that way. No, this is a desire within all of us. So not only do I mention these things in order for you to arm yourself and shield yourself, but also as a sword so that you understand the demons you have to face when you get to these levels of power. So when you have power, you know how to correctly wield it. And sometimes you have to be evil. Sometimes you will have to do things that are considered cruel. War is cruel. People are losing their lives. People are losing their livelihoods. But when you are a leader that has control over these resources, sometimes those decisions have to be made. You just want to make sure it is done righteously and not for the gain of others, which we basically see all day, every day. They would take from you in order to put more resources in their pocket or withhold resources for their benefit, right? It's all about, if the world is a chessboard, choose your piece. You can be a pawn, you can be a bishop, you can be a knight, you can be a king, or you can be a queen. All these pieces are essential, meaning anybody who has a business is going to need employees. You can start your own business right now. You're going to need people working for you. So now they are putting their lives in your hands because they are depending on that paycheck. So in a way, they are indebted to you. In a way, they would take things that they wouldn't take from other people, like a certain type of treatment, a certain type of rudeness, a certain type of evilness. They will tolerate it just because you are the boss. Something that they wouldn't tolerate on a one-to-one level. They'll go to war with somebody trying to do something to them personally, but when it comes to your ability to survive, your ability to provide, or even your status, whatever it is that you are attached to, they are willing to accept even cruelty in order to maintain their survival. That's what that means. Continuing on. Fortune tempts men to ruin, for their greed blinds them to the traps they set for themselves. What does that mean? Fortune tempts men to ruin, meaning, as we see, whether entertainment, people trying to become rappers, right? People trying to get put on. Just look at what's going on in Chicago, right? The drill scene. Because people are trying to escape, they are willing to step on the toes of others. Meaning, if I gotta diss you and your homies, even your dead homies, if I gotta make music about the dead in order for me to get out of a bad situation, that's what I'm gonna do. That's the mentality, right? That's what we see all the time. I'm gonna destroy you and everything you stand for in order for me to appear bigger, in order for me to get bigger checks, in order for me to become more popular. It gotta be at your expense. right? So I need to smash you in order to become bigger. This is the mentality. In order for me to make millions and hundreds of thousands, it gotta be at your expense, right? Ultimately, it sets them up for their own traps because karma, right? So if you making a bunch of this music, you moving in a certain way, you are essentially putting out all this negative energy towards others. Eventually, you will have to face your own shadow because you're creating your own shadow. It's not even about nobody else because we know consciousness is the only reality. So if consciousness is the only reality, you may think you're destroying someone else, but it's all an illusion from your mind. So the energy that you are putting out is you're putting out towards yourself. But it appears that you are hurting someone else, but you are hurting yourself in the long run. You are setting up your own traps that you will fall victim to in the future, thinking that you're doing something to somebody else when honestly you were doing it to yourself the whole time. All right, moving on. A man's conscience is silent when his desires are loud. Meaning, when they got big demons, big desires, their sense of, you can say, godliness or righteousness dims. This is what we see when people are willing to do anything just to get a paycheck. We see this all over YouTube, right? People literally create content that is false, rumors. It has no, there is no truth to it whatsoever. It's a complete lie. But because the lie seems interesting, people still click. And people would actually buy into the lies because it seems interesting. So this is when lies become more important than truth. And we see this on YouTube. We see this in the world. Lies are held to a higher standard than truth because people want to already believe and assume the negative. So even if they don't see it, they still want to assume, right? So the more desires a person has, the more that they have to mute their conscience. You have to mute it when you have demons and desires that are untamed and unregulated. The soul of man craves power and will sacrifice honor to grasp it. So all this talk about honor, being a certain type of man, being a certain type of woman, I'm a man of honor, I'm a woman of honor, respect, loyalty, all that shit people talk about don't have nothing to do with nothing. It's all bullshit. Because they will sacrifice whatever it is that they stand on to advance themselves. So essentially, if somebody wants to be a millionaire, but then they have painted this picture of they're a righteous person, they don't engage in this, they don't engage in that, they will start to engage in things that they condemn. And if it is a avenue to the check, if it's an avenue to the bag, if they see an avenue to the bag, they don't care what they said in the past or what they supposed to stand on. They will go the complete opposite. This is just the nature. This is not, well, some people are this way, other peoples are not. This is just the nature of the psyche. It's on you if you tame your demons. Because if they are untamed, this is what the result will be. So we're talking about the demons that are untamed. So to avoid any of these pitfalls, you have to make sure that your chaos is regulated. Chaos will exist. I'm not even talking about peace. Chaos will exist. But your chaos must be organized. Your hits must be targeted. and premeditated. Everything must be premeditated, because if you just be like everybody else and live in the moment, or I'm taking it moment by moment, I'm in the moment. Well, if your demon pop out in that moment, do you know how to keep that motherfucker in control? For all you people that like to be in the now, when the demon pop up, do you know how to tame that motherfucker? Because if you do, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if it's some shit pop up that you were not expecting, which happens from the unconscious mind, one thing triggers another thing, which triggers another thing. Now you're dealing with a nuclear reaction. We experience nuclear reactions. Something small may trigger something big that was unconscious. And now you're in a whole different mindset and mood that you wasn't even prepared to experience. You didn't think something so small would create such an intense reaction within you. Now you're acting other than yourself. Like, nobody has to like pull out a gun and threaten your life in order for you to essentially lose your mind and snap. You don't have to get cheated on or betrayed. It can be something very small that escalates nuclear reaction into something big if your demons are untamed and unregulated, because you will fall victim to your own human nature. Envy is the shadow of every human bond, poison in friendship and love alike. Most people that are friends and most people in relationships is secret envy. People are just not friends because they are like minded. People would surround themselves around their enemies in order to keep an eye on the people that they fear. The people that they envy, they would rather be closer to the people that they envy than far away, because they want to see how they can throw a wrench in your operations. So all the people that try to get close to you that pretend to be your friends, it may just be that they secretly envy you, and you look at it as respect and we have common things in common and all that. I'm just explaining to you human nature. What you do with it is what you do with it. Men are quick to forgive their own sins, but relentless in condemning those of others. We see this all day, every day, right? Everybody got an opinion about what's going on in this celebrity's life, or on a personal level, what's going on with this family member, what's going on with this friend, what's going on with this person. Everybody got a big ass opinion about what somebody else is doing or how somebody else is living their life. Every day, not a moment goes by where some type of gossip is not happening, some type of backbiting is not happening, some type of rumors are being stirred up and created. Not a moment goes by where that's not happening. Why? Because people are unregulated. They're savages unless they make themselves into gods and goddesses. That is a process you have to submit to or surrender to. You have to surrender to the truth of yourself in order to have that refinement about yourself, to avoid these traps for every human. That's why they say everybody is a sinner. Everybody is prone to weakness. And the only way to counteract the weakness is to know it before it strikes. You have to know the nature of a snake before you start to defend yourself against snakes. A lot of people are trying to defend snakes and do this and do that, but they don't even know the nature of a snake. Why is a snake a snake? Why do snakes do what they do? Because if you already know what a snake is going to do before the snake does it, right? If you know what the snake is going to do before the snake moves, attacks, defends, if you already know the moves before you see it because you know the nature of a thing, then how much of a threat is that to you? If you know what's going to happen before it happens, you are able to predict the movements if you have studied. It's the same thing with humans. If you study the human psyche, psychology, you know what can happen before it happens. So you know how to position yourself in a way and a manner that allows you to not be the victim of somebody else's madness or even your own madness. You can navigate through the chaos because you know that the chaos will appear at some point, because peace doesn't exist. We can create an illusion of peace, but there is no such thing as peace, just the illusion of it, because we are always dealing with the chaos and new chaos that comes into our reality every day via the dates, the years, the months. If you're into astrology, your planets are always progressing. You don't just have a stagnant chart that we call a natal chart. You also have a progress chart, meaning your chart in the now, meaning the planets are always in motion, even if they appear to not move. That non-movement is an illusion. Everything vibrates, everything moves. That's one of the universal laws, right? Everything is alive because everything is vibrating. Even a rock is vibrating. All these inanimate objects that we don't feel are alive, they have to be alive because they are vibrating. What is causing inanimate objects to vibrate if they are not alive? Why would a person create imagery of something that isn't alive? What's the point of creating this if it's not alive? All right? What's the point of creating that if it's not alive? People call it idol worship. Oh, you're worshiping idols. All right? Let's see if you can see that. All right? There you go. What's the point of doing that if it's not alive? Everything vibrates. So if you understand the vibration, that's how you can manipulate these idols. It's not about getting on your knees and worshiping anything. It's about understanding the vibrations of things. And when you understand the vibrations of things, you can control the directions of these vibrations and these frequencies. That's what magic is. You don't just acknowledge the vibration and the frequency. You know how to manipulate it and control its direction. What's up, Ross K? Let us continue. Give me a second here. Let's see. Okay. In the heart of every man lies a tyrant, waiting for the chance to rule unchecked. Meaning, in the heart of every man, if you had the ability to just do whatever you want without consequence, you would. It's not too many people that would be like, okay, if I can just do what I want, I'm not going to do that. If I can do whatever I want without consequence, without karma, how many people do you think would say, no, I don't? I want to be in the rules and regulations of karma. I want to have to deal with my consequences. If you can go unregulated without consequence, you would. And it's not that you can't, because that's why we have the ability to dream and we have the ability to astral travel, lucid dream. So we have the ability to create artificial environments that allow us to experiment with whatever we want to experiment with without having to face karma and the consequences if we do it physically. So these things are possible. This is essentially why you have to do spiritual work. Spiritual work is you creating an artificial environment so that you can regulate these demons. Because if you just try to keep them asleep, you're going to have a hard time keeping them in order. But if you create an artificial environment that allows them to be them, instead of trying to suppress it, you give them an avenue, you give them some type of channel to liberate. Do you think that demon would be more willing to work with you versus you want to act like it doesn't exist at all? Again, these are living intelligence. So if a living intelligence, okay, I'm going to create an artificial space for you to be you. that demon will be more likely to cooperate when you say, okay, enough, versus a demon that you try to keep hidden away in the corners of your consciousness. And then it has to create its own reality. And then you have to face the karma that comes with that because it's a part of you. We all have an angel, we all have a demon with us our entire life, recording our actions, our thoughts. Everything is being recorded by the angel or the demon for our whole life. So you can just like, okay, I'm gonna be on the angelic side. I'm gonna fuck the demon. You can be like that, or you can say, you know what, I'm gonna create an artificial environment for both of these energies to express themselves, so that when I need to manipulate and take control of the current, I can do so without resistance. We always encounter resistance because it's like if you don't have that avenue, you don't have that channel to express yourself. It's going to be very hard trying to manipulate and get this energy under your control when you need it to be under your control. Otherwise, people wouldn't act out, people wouldn't snap. If people had full control, we wouldn't see people doing what people do. Humans wouldn't be humans if they just automatically had the willpower to control their reality. Most people don't have enough willpower because, again, they see themselves as a small little atom in a gigantic universe. So, like, who is me to have any type of say so? They're not looking at themselves as an extension of the divine, the extension of the monad. You are the monad in flesh. The monad is not flesh, but you are that divine spark. We all have that divine spark. That's the Gnostic teaching. It don't matter how evil or how wicked this world is, we all still have a divine spark or a connection to the real God. So it's on you to develop that divine spark in the midst of the demiurge, which is going to give you resistance. Everybody is going to have resistance. There is no escape the resistance. It's all about, is your willpower strong enough to overcome the resistance? No, I'll do a couple more here. We don't have to go through all of these. The mind twists truth to suit desire, for man believes what serves his ends. So whatever the fuck people believe, it's because it serves them. It's really as simple as that. Excuse me. People believe in what serves them. It's not about the truth. They will twist the truth. And we see people doing this with the Bible, quoting from the Bible, quoting from the Quran, quoting from these scriptures. People know how to twist the truth to suit who they are and what they're attempting to do. So truth can be twisted and manipulated to suit the gain or loss of another. So for the people that want to gain, they know how to twist truth in a way that allows them to gain. But of course, it will be at someone else's expense. It's going to always be that, right? Fear of loss governs men more than hope of gain, for loss cuts deeper than ambition. Very, very, very. The truth in that is profound. The fear of loss is stronger than ambition. So even if a person has ambitions to be a millionaire, right? It don't matter how big your ambitions are. You still fear losing what you already have more than the ambition that you hope to gain. When you understand that, it gives you a better understanding of how people work. That's why everybody wants to change the world. Everybody wants to get money and do something righteous. If you ask them, what they want to do with their success and what they want to do with their ambition, what they hope to accomplish, everybody got these grand plans. But as I said earlier, people are willing to tolerate even cruelness to maintain what they actually do have, the fear of loss. They will literally stand in front of a person or work with a person that their stomach turns for because they don't want to lose what they have. Versus, okay, fuck this person. I'm about to go out on my own. I'm about to spread my own wings. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to escape this. That's cool, but the fear of loss is stronger than that. So understand that. So, everybody, whether you have friends, whether you have alumni, people that are in your inner circle, whatever it is, everybody's talking about what they want to do and how good it would be to do this and do that, help these people, help these people. But if anybody has to lose something in order to gain, they're going to hold on to what they have before they try to help others. So they want to hold on to what they have first before they go out hoping and wishing for the world to be a better place. That's why the world really don't change, does it? Everybody wants the world to be a better place, but the world really don't fucking change. Because human psyche doesn't allow it. But you can change. But you're not really changing. You're more so regulating what's already within you. So you're really not changing. It's not like you're not a demon already. It's not like you're not an angel already. You just know how to regulate. We'll do one more. The cunning man exploits the vanity of others, for pride is the easiest chain to bind. I'll say it one more time. The cunning man exploits the vanity of others. There's all the 85s, all these stupid people, all these dumb people are vain people. So no matter how big and how inflated a person's ego is, they are vain. So if you understand the vanity of a person, you can take control over that person. Pride, one more time. Pride is the easiest chain to bind. So if you can give people a false sense of pride, which we have seen over and over again, everybody's a god, right? Everybody is a sole controller of their reality. If you can give people a false sense of pride, if you can manipulate their vanity, then they will follow you. We see this all the time. YouTube, TikTok, IG, Facebook. We see it everywhere. It don't matter where you look, right? So I'm just giving y'all, how many was that? 16 quotes that I configured just to give you a little truth. So don't be fooled and manipulated by anybody who come in the name of the divine, God, the truth. They all still have darker desires that they try to keep hidden. No one is free of this human psyche. Can you tame it? You definitely can, but it takes somebody whose willpower is unbelievably unhuman. That's what we call the divine spark. The only way to avoid these pitfalls is to operate and activate your divine spark. There is no other way to do it, because that's the only divinity that's within you. That's the only love that's within you, is that divine spark. So any love, any righteousness, any peace is going to come from that divine spark. Otherwise, it's just evilness. So tame your evilness and use it righteously, because there is no escape. So sometimes cruelty is necessary, but when you do it righteously, manipulate your demons in artificial environments. Do it righteously, and then they can reward you with the jewels and the attributes that they possess. So I'm going to work with this demon because I'm trying to obtain this attribute. Where are you giving that demon a channel to express and liberate itself? Because if you're not doing that, why do you expect it to do anything for you to your benefit when you're not utilizing those benefits so that it can benefit? It's always an even exchange, and especially when you're working with demons, they prefer the more evil exchanges. So can you tolerate the evilness of a demon? Because if you are creating an artificial environment, that means you will be able to witness all of these demonic acts, right? Everybody like watching scary movies and thrillers, but when you are actually working with real demons and they show you real shit, that's when people have fucking nightmares, when they see things and experience things that are a little bit beyond what they are used to. Are you able to do that in a controlled fashion? There is no escape, but you can do it in a controlled fashion so that you can gain at the loss of your ego an ego death. So the loss that you must destroy, the person you must kill, is yourself, your own ego. Fuck anybody else. If you can kill your own ego, sacrifice yourself, you are the sacrifice, you are the sheep, then the shadow can show you the reality of things. Here is your human psyche. What you do with it is completely up to you. So be evil or create the illusion or falsehood of peace and goodness and kindness. The choice is yours. And with that, I'm not even gonna say I bear peace. I'm just gonna say 93. Fuck peace.